All right, how's everyone doing? I'm Rich CELENZA. Thanks for checking out my channel. What I'm going to get into today is genetics. I've recently been doing a lot of podcasts and different videos with a lot of different experts in fitness, nutrition, all different types of people that work out in all different types of environments. That would include people that are involved with marathons, bodybuilders, powerlifters, just nutritional experts, all these different types of people. And, you know, a lot of times what comes up, especially when it comes, I guess you could say, to weightlifting, I should say more than anything, or just certain things in general. It could be running, it could be cycling, it could be many different things, is your genetics, like what was given to you, you know, from your parents. And I goof around a lot of times, and I always thank my mother and father when I talk to them still to this day and say, thank you so much for the genetics you gave me, and they laugh. I was very fortunate to have very strong parents. They're both tall, actually, and they're both very athletic, but very strong and very coordinated. So I don't know if you know either one of my parents, but if you do know them, you know that they are those type of people. They were obsessed with sports, even at a young age. My father was a standout athlete, and my mother was very strong. They even wanted her in like literally the 70s or 80s to take on bodybuilding and powerlifting and all these type of things when women weren't even doing these type of things, but that's how strong she was. And that's where actually I started to hang out at gyms because of her, truthfully. At 5 years old, I started to go to the YMCA with her, and then I was going to indoor tennis places, racquetball, all these things. And it was just me and her, so I would kind of roam around and go in these different gym areas or whatever I could find and do things that I could find exciting as well. But when it comes to genetics, here's the thing, and I've been posting a lot of videos, and I've been getting a lot of comments on Facebook and even on YouTube. And here's the truth. I'm going to just give you a quick breakdown on how I look at this. When I was younger, I thought I had the worst genetics in the world. I was always the smallest, scrawniest kid. If you watch any of my videos, you would know that I talk about that a lot of times. And I didn't really mature up until I was about 19 years old. And that's when I started to truly discover my genetics. But I do think this, regardless if you have great genetics or not, I am going to say one of the things I think that helped me benefit was I started at a very young age working out in the 70s and throughout the 80s and even the 90s. But when I was working out, a lot of people were saying back then working out was bad for me, especially in a lot of different sports that I was playing. They're like, oh, it's going to hurt your shoulders. It's going to slow you down. It's not going to make you, it's going to hurt with your coordination, building all this muscle mass. And even when I was going into modeling, they were frowning upon me working out. They actually wanted me to keep getting thinner. And I'm thinking, I want to get bigger and stronger. But what I did, I think, over the years was I discovered my genetics along the way. I think if I wouldn't have started at a young age, and I know I was extreme at 5 years old and then really taking it on hardcore from 13 years old on, yeah, I would have had good genetics. But truthfully, I discovered my genetics by not stopping and always trying to evolve and become bigger and stronger. That was my thing. I think what happens with a lot of people is, you know, we do see people that are naturally gifted, and you see this with a lot of athletes, obviously, right? Or just, you may have friends, family members, and colleagues that are just gods. They look great. I even have cousins that don't work out that look exceptional. I'm shocked that they never worked out. But put that aside, I do think a lot of people that think they don't have really good genetics never took the time again to discover them. Or they don't realize sometimes you have certain genetic qualities that are much stronger than others. So for instance, I was very fortunate because my tris were very dominant. So in an arm, obviously a majority of it is a tri. So my arms always looked probably bigger than most. My quads were very big, right? So again, when you looked at me, my quads, looked a certain way. I was fortunate. I had wider shoulders when I was working out. I had a pretty big back, right? So I guess you could say all the things that kind of give you an illusion to making you look big. Even my traps when I was younger were very big. And I don't have any of these qualities compared to what I had back then. But again, I kept working out. I was lucky genetic-wise that I could take them to the next level. But I also did see a lot of my friends, and I'm not going to lie, who did not have good genetics, not nearly what I had. But they went on to really, master the strengths in their genetics, if that makes sense. So I had a buddy, for instance, he really didn't have a good chest, but he had a great back, right? He didn't really have good tris, but he had great bis. He didn't really have good quads, but he had good calves. And, you see this too. I'll just bring it up, like what a lot of guys with legs sometimes, you see, like sometimes as hard as they work, out on their legs. It just doesn't, it just doesn't develop to say someone like myself or other people. And I get that, and that's hard. But you have to overcome certain things in your genetic flaws. And that's the one thing you have to realize. Don't let that shit hold you back. We all have strengths. We all have weaknesses. I don't give a shit who you are, I can assure you. Now, maybe say you're small and you just don't have a lot of muscle mass. You may not become a professional bodybuilder. You may not become very muscular, but I can assure you if you tried something else, you never know. You may be very fast. You may be able to do things, I don't know if it's snow ski, water ski, hike up mountains, whatever the case may be, you may be able to do exceptional things with your genetics. And here's the other thing too. I get it a lot of times we all want to look like gods, right? And genetics does play a big role in that. That's understandable, but not everyone is going to look like that. Everyone looks at Arnold Schwarzenegger, let's hypothetically say, my God, that's what I want to look like, or, that's who I aim to be like, and that's wonderful, but a majority, let's just say 99% of the people out there are not going to end up looking like him, even if you work out like an animal. So you also have to take a realistic approach. Understand that your genetics are given to you, and there's nothing you can do about it. I always talk about this. You're not going to be able to jump out of your body into someone else's. You have to deal with God gave you or your parents. It's really down to your parents. They gave you these genetics. You have to accept them and work with what you have. Like I was mentioning earlier, you have to discover those. And don't think because you're not getting results now doesn't mean you won't get them down the road. You may think right now, man, my arms just don't grow. It's shitty. It's just not working for me. You may be, one, doing arms incorrectly, or two, you may have not learned the right exercise to really develop your arms. Yeah, sure, other guys may have bigger arms than you, and the reality is there's always going to be somebody bigger than you, stronger than you, faster than you. The list goes on and on and on. So forget all that bullshit. Think about what you can improve on, okay? And again, everybody is different. Not everyone's the same. You have to learn to figure out workouts, again, that work with your strengths, especially when it comes to genetics. And I realized over a long period of time, I can gain a lot of weight, lose a lot of weight. And I talk about this all the time, you have to dissect yourself and study yourself. Figure out specifically who you are, what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are. Don't get obsessed on either one. I know a lot of times people are like, take advantage of your strengths. That's what you got to go full force. And then your strengths and then your weaknesses, nobody will even notice them. Yeah, I kind of get that. You know what I say? Keep it equal. Work out your entire body or whatever you want to do. Just make it balanced. Do the best you can. And I understand sometimes we do get better results regarding certain exercises. But my theory is from top to bottom, I just wanted a balanced body. And I want to be strong in every aspect of my body. I don't want I don't want strong tries and weak buys. I don't want, my hamstrings or me able to squat a lot of weight and my calves look like toothpicks. I'm just using these for an example. I try to always keep everything balanced. So when you look at your genetics, don't always look at these are strong, these are weak, I'm shit out of luck, or I'll never have this or I'll never have that. Don't be surprised if they do come. It just may take longer than expected. I talk about that shit all the time. What may take me 6 months or a year to get may take you 5 years, right? What took me 2 or 3 years to get to may take you a decade. Too bad. That's just the way it is. But on the flip side, I used to work out with all these other guys. I used to even work out with world champion arm wrestlers. And my arms were almost 20 inches. They were like 19 and a half. I would destroy them in every aspect of the gym. They would rip my arm off. Again, their forms were just strong, but I did not have the genetics, truthfully, to do what they even were doing. So again, I'm just using for an example, we all have weird types of strengths within our genetics. Again, we just may have never discovered them. So I'm going to wrap it up there. What are they doing over there? Doing some construction or shit. Who knows? They're always doing something over here. But anyways, if you get a chance, subscribe. I always forget to mention that. I have a podcast, The Rich CELENZA Show. WTF are you talking about? Also on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And if you want, definitely check out my podcast lately. I've had a lot of great guests on there. So yeah, that's all I got for you today. But don't sell yourself short. I don't care what age you are. If you're 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, you have gifts. You just need to find the gifts, believe in the gifts, and work on them and create them. All right? At least that's my opinion. Oh, yeah, my buddy. Man, this thing's getting dirty. I wear too much. Strong Arm Sports. You get a chance, check it out. My buddy Mordecai owns this company. One of the coolest guys I've ever met in my life. So if you're serious, that's his motto. So this is how he talks, man. Listen, Rich, don't be playing me out on those videos. You make me look cool. You make me look good. Get your ass to the gym. I don't want any bullshit. All right, that's what he would say. And he'd say, you know what? Subscribe. Try to remember to subscribe to Rich's page, man. All right, take care.